All right, in this lesson, we're going to continue doing some solving for x. So what's going to be different in this lesson is that in the last one, you had your expressions, and you just solved, you got x equals whatever it equaled, and that was the end of it, right? Today, what we're going to do is, once we know what x is, we're then going to use that x to find out how big those angles are, right? So basically, all you do is, once you know what x is, then you can plug x in, plug the number in for x. So like this first angle is 2x. Since x is 5, that angle has to be 10 degrees, right? So that's what we're going to be doing today. Using the x that we got, how do we find out how big the angle is? So we're going to do a couple examples. It says, so here's our first example. It says, what is the measure of each angle? We got angle B and angle A here. So just like yesterday, first thing you need to do is decide, are the angles congruent or are the angles supplementary? So these are consecutive interior angles, which are supplementary. Right, so since they're supplementary, I'm going to take the first angle, x plus 67, and add the second angle, x plus 127, and those will equal 180. Whenever it's supplementary, add them together, equal to 180. So now we look at our equation. I'm going to go through those 5 steps I gave you yesterday. So first, do we distribute? The answer to this is no, there are no parentheses, so we don't distribute. Now I look for like terms, which I do have. I have an x and an x, which is 2x. I also have a 67 and 127. So I add those together, and I get 194. I'm going to bring down that 180. Right. Third thing we look for is, do we need to move the variables together? We only have one variable, so we don't need to move anything. And now we check for adding or subtracting. So we do have that. We have that plus 194. The opposite of adding 194 is to subtract 194. So cancel 2x equals negative 14. And the last thing you do is either multiply or divide. So in this one, I've got 2x. So I'm going to do the opposite and divide by 2. We get x equals negative 7. Right? So since our directions say what are the measure, we have to do a couple more things, right? That would be the end if it said solve for x, but since it says what is the measure of each angle, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to take each angle, b equals x plus 67, and a equals x plus 127, and we're going to plug x into those. So instead of x plus 67, it's negative 7 plus 67. And instead of x plus 127, it's negative 7 plus 127. So b equals 60 and a equals 120. And there we go. So you find x and you plug it in to the expressions and you get the final answer. So here we've got a new one. So we look at our angles and we say, all right, these are corresponding. Corresponding angles are always going to be congruent. So since they're congruent, we take the angles, 17x minus 14, or sorry, 4, and the 12 plus 15x, and we put it equals in between them, because they're congruent, it means they're equal. So we're going to solve for x. So first we check if we need to distribute, which we do not. Then we look for like terms, right? Like terms always on the same side. So these are not like terms and these are not like terms. So we'll move on. Next we check for moving variables. So I do have two variables, so I'm going to need to move one of these, right? So we've got 17x and 15x. The hint I gave you yesterday was it'll make it easier if you move the smaller number, right? The smaller number here would be 15. Since it's plus 15, I'm going to minus 15x from both sides. 17 minus 15 is 2. Bring down the minus 4. Bring down the 12. 15's cancel out. Now we decide if we're going to add or subtract the numbers. So this time it's minus 4. Opposite of minus is 2 plus. We're going to add 4 to both sides. 2x equals 16. And then the last step is to either multiply or divide. Since it's 2 times x, I'm going to do the opposite and divide by 2. That leaves me with x equals 8. Right? X equals 8. Okay, so we know what x equals. Once you know what x equals, when it asks you to find the measure of the angles, you take both angles. So I'm going to take 17x minus 4 and 12 plus 15x. Okay, so that's B and A. We're going to plug in that x. Right, so instead of 17 times x minus 4, it's going to be 17 times 8 minus 4. On the other side, it'll be 12 plus 15 times 8. Right. So then we work that out. 17 times 8 minus 4 be 132. If you use your calculator for this, that's fine. And A, 12 plus 15 times 8 is 132. Right? Remember at the beginning we said corresponding angles were congruent, and we got the same number for both of them. So that's just kind of like a check. Since we said they would be congruent, we better get the same answer for both. Right? So that is the end of this lesson. If you need help or you have some questions, you can send me a remind message, or we can make an appointment to do a Google Meets to go over this.